right, people. We are talking about interest, and this is one of the most important adult life lessons. Very important concept to understand. So, in the future, when you borrow money, let's say you want to go to college, you take out a student loan. They are not just going to let you pay them back whatever you borrowed. They are going to charge you interest. They're charging you money to borrow their money. So I will give you an example with my student loans. I took $42,000 out as my principal amount. The federal government let me borrow $42,000. But I have to pay them back that amount plus interest. So I'm going to give you a little personal example of how expensive that interest is. I took out $42,000. I have since paid $60,000 to them. I owe them $33,000 on my principal balance plus interest still. So my principal balance was originally $42,000. After paying $60,000, it has only gone down to $33,000. It's frightening. You will also maybe someday take out a mortgage, which is a fancy word for a home loan. The bank, you'll go to the bank, you'll say, here's all my credit history, here's how much money I make per month, and they'll decide, okay, we will let you borrow $300,000 from us so you can buy a house, but you're going to pay us back that $300,000 plus interest, 2.7% or some like low interest rate. But it adds up over 30 years of paying. That interest adds up. You'll also get charged interest if you use a credit card. You want to buy sunglasses for $19 or super cool screen glasses so you don't get a headache from staring at a screen all day long. You want to buy those for $30. You swipe your credit card. Okay. They're letting you borrow that $30 to pay them back. If you don't pay them back in a month when your credit card bill is due, they charge you interest. So these $30 sunglasses, if you use their credit card, are now, let's say, $40 or more and more and more, depending on how long it takes you to pay them back. So that's kind of how interest works and kind of the idea of a principal balance. Let's do like a smaller scale example. Let's say my friend wants to buy something, a trampoline, and it costs $200. And I'm not that trusting of her, or I'm just not that generous. So I'm going to lend her that $200 like a bank would and say, sure, here, you can have my $200 right now, but you're going to pay me 5% flat interest rate on that $200. So you're going to have to pay me back $210 for making me have to be out $200 myself so you could have it. Okay. So that $200 would be the principal. That $10 would be the interest that my friend accrued having borrowed money from me. All right. Let's solve some simple interest problems. We'll use this formula. Interest equals principal balance times interest rate times time. So you're given these values to plug into the equation wherever the variable is, and then you have to find that one missing variable. So this one, we know the interest cost, we know the principal balance, we know the interest rate. What we want to know is how long, how much time in years we spent with this debt or whatever. Okay. This is not as difficult as it looks. You've done stuff like this before with formulas where you plug in the value given for the variable and then you solve. So I'll write my formula. I equals P times R times T. I equals P times R that's not an R, times T. Remember when the variables are right next to each other, it means to multiply. There's lots of ways to show multiplication. You can go times like that. You can go times like that. You can put numbers inside of parentheses. And if the parentheses are right next to each other, then that means to times these two numbers. Oh yeah, lots of ways to show it. So I times PRT, I have 350 is equal to I. So I'm replacing my variable with the value given for it, 350 instead of I, equals, do I know P? Yes, it's 700. 700. I'm going to put times like this in the parentheses. Times R. Do I know R? Yes, it's 10%. I am going to write my percents as a decimal, so I can put it in a calculator. 10% is 0.10. We should know this from the last lesson. Times, I don't know T, so I'm leaving that as my unknown variable I have to solve for. So we're going to start this by simplifying. We're going to multiply 700 times 0.10 because you can do multiplication in whatever order. So 700 times 0.10, 700 times 0.10 or 0.1, I get 70. So I'm rewriting my problem. I'm going to go 350 equals 700 times 0.10 equals 70. See how I just replaced that value with this one? It's simplified. Times T. Okay, now I want to get this T by itself on one side of the equation. So I gotta get rid of this 70. It's attached to the T via multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So we'll divide to get rid of that 70. What I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other. When I do 70 divided by 70, I would get 1. 1 times T would be T. So I don't have to write the 1. I can just write T equals 350 divided by 70. 5. I'll show you on the calculator. I'm getting tired. Divided by 70 equals 5. So 5, that's the number of years that we spent on this debt. Okay. I equals PRT. We know P and R and T. We need to find I. Let's set up our formula. How do I get rid of this? No. I equals P R T. Okay, we don't know I. Leave it alone. We do know P. P is 450. Times, what's R? 5%. To turn this into a decimal, put that 5 in the hundredths place. So I'm going to write 0.05. To go from a percentage to a decimal, you take the decimal point, which would be here, move it to the left twice, fill in a 0. 0.05 times 7. Okay, you'll notice the variable is already alone on one side of the equation. That makes doing this problem really, really easy. All I have to do is multiply. 450 times 0.05 times 7 equals 157.5. I is 157.5. So that's the interest amount that you paid on that. Use I equals PRT. Okay, I know P, and I know T. I need to find R. What is the interest rate? And it shows us here, you need to give your answer as a percent. So we'll probably get a decimal for our answer, then we'll have to convert it into a percent. Okay, let's set up our problem. I equals PRT. You might notice now at this point that it's the same exact formula every single time. We just have, we only know certain values. That's what's changing here. That's an R. I equals 300. So I'm replacing my I with 300. Equals, do I know P? P is 3,000. Okay, I know P. Replace it with 3,000. I so miss my document camera and writing with a pen and a pencil, or a pencil on paper. R, I don't know R. Write it down. Remember, that number right next to a variable means to multiply. I don't have to write a times symbol there. T is 0.5. So replacing the T with the 0.5. Okay. Now this variable is not by itself on the side of the equation. Let's simplify the multiplication first. So remember, multiplication, it does not matter what order you do it in. So I'm going to go 3,000 times 0.5. Half of 3,000 is 1,500. If you don't believe me, you can go 3,000 times 0.5 in your calculator. So we have 1,500 times R equals 300. Now, I get this R by itself. It's attached to 1,500 via multiplication. To undo multiplication, you divide. Divide by 1,500. What I do to one side of the equal sign, I do to the other side. Now, these are simplified. I have R on one side of the equation, and I just put 300 divided by 1,500 in my calculator. I get 0.2. Oh, 0.2. And just like I warned you, we have this in decimal form. We need to write it as a percentage. You know how if you have a percent, let's say you have 20%, to move that, to change that into a decimal, you'd move the decimal to the left twice. Okay, so 20% is equal to 0.20. Remember, percents are out of 100. This 20 is in the hundredths place. In this case, if we have a decimal and we're going to turn it into a percent, we move the other direction. We move the decimal to the right twice. We fill in the 0. 0.2 is equal to 20%, which I already kind of showed you. If I put in a 0 here, I'd have, right now I have 2, with the 0.2, I have 2 in my tenths place. If I just add a 0 at the end, then I have something in my hundredths place, which is what I want because percents are out of 100. So 20% is my answer. Interest rate, 20%. That is high. Ooh. I equals PRT. I equals P times R times T. R T. Do I know I? Yes, it's 270,000. So I write 270,000 where the I was in the formula. Yep, okay. Equals, do I know P? Yes. It's 150,000. I'm gonna run out of space. Right, super tiny. Okay, Do I know R? Yes, it's 12%, but I'm going to write it as a decimal, so it is 0.12 times 0.12 times, we don't know T. We don't know the time that it's going to take us. Okay, we simplify this multiplication, 150,000 times 0.12. Is 18,000. 18,000 times T equals 200. I hope they give us littler numbers in the future. Just for this, I need to get a mouse. Maybe that would make it easier. But I'm tired of spending money on stuff like that. Okay. So now I have this problem that says 270,000 times 18,000 or equals 18,000 times T. Get rid of that 18,000 by dividing what I will do to one side, I do to the other. Now, all I have left on this side is T. Yay! And I'm just going to cross off these zeros so I don't have to plug them in the calculator. If you don't get that, then just put the whole thing in the calculator. What I'm going to do is 270 divided by 18 now. 15. T equals 15. 15 years. It's really fun to owe money for as half of the amount of time that you've spent on Earth. It's really, really fun. I equals PRT. Also, if you get married and you don't pay back your debt and you die, then your spouse has to pay it. Sorry, that's a little dark, but it's true. Your debt does not die with you. I, we don't know it. We have to find I equals, what is P? 400 times, what is R? It's 9%. We write that as 0.09. Times, what is the time? What is T? 0.25. You will notice I have the variable already all by itself, so all I do here is a multiplication problem. 400 times 0.09 times 0.25. 400 times 0.09 times 0.25 equals 9. Interest is 9. Remember, oh, it even gives you a little hint. That's nice. 9% is 0.09 in decimal form. That's talking about this R, this 9%. It's very nice of them. It helps you here too. 15% is 0.15. So thoughtful. We need to find I. So let's skip the whole part. What? Stop it. Let's skip the whole part where I write I equals PRT and just go into plugging the values in. I don't know I. I equals P, which is 2,000 or 2 grand times 0.15. 15% is 0.15 in decimal form. That is the R. And what is the T? The time is 2 years times 2. Again, we've already got the variable by itself. We just need to type in 2,000 times 0.15 times 2. Did I type that in correctly? Yes. Oh, we get 600. That's our interest. That's how much we pay extra for what we borrowed. 600. More. I equals PRT. I is 99. 99 equals P. What is P? 1,200 or 1,200 times R. What is R? We don't know. We plug it in as a variable times T, which is 0.75. We need to simplify what we can here. So we're going to do the multiplication 1,200 times 0.75, which is 900. No. 900. So we have 900 times R now. Oops, not 90. 900 times R equals 99. Oh, my fingers are so tired of this. Now we want to get the R by itself. It is being multiplied by a 900. Let's divide by 900. Undo what's been done to the variable. Now what we do to one side, we do to the other. Now we have R equals 99 divided by 900. I cannot do that in my head. It was 0.11. Now let's see, do we need to write our answer as a percent or a decimal? Probably a percent. Give your answer as a percent. 0.11, 11 hundredths is equal to 11%. All right. I know this was a long lesson, but I am completely okay with that because this is important.